Good afternoon, friends. What's my name? I always make sure at the beginning that everyone knows my name. Because if you go to a library a few days from now and say, I want a book by that man who is at Hammond Hall, they say, the librarian can't help you. But if you say, I would like a book by, then the librarian can help you. And I love to draw and paint. Anybody here like to draw and paint? Hands down. I love books and reading. Anybody here like books and reading? Oh, good. Hands down. And do I love songs and music and all of that? Anybody like music also? Oh, good. Hands down. Look, you like to do the things I love to do. And because I love to draw and paint, whenever I do a book, I do the pictures. And I always try to make the pictures as beautiful as I can. Sometimes I paint them. Sometimes I cut colored papers. Sometimes I'll use my paints for the Louis Armstrong song. Different ways with each book. When I am writing a story, I want the best words. And this is where I let you in on the secret that you can tell your family and friends. Where I get the good ideas for the best words for my African folk tales. I get the good ideas for the best words that I'm writing from poetry. I practice reading poems aloud, then I take all the good ideas from poetry and put them in my stories. And that's what I'm going to share with you this afternoon. First, I'm going to read from a number of the Black American poets. And then, when I read from a story, you're going to say, ah! That's where he gets his good ideas. They come from poetry. Where do they come from? Poetry. Where do they come from? Poetry. Where do they come from? Poetry. 3 cheers for poetry is the way I always begin. And I begin with a poem by a wonderful Black American poet. And I ask everyone to say it, because in this poem, he tells you that you love who you are and that you love your people. So I teach everyone this poem. Everyone. My people! My people! By Langston Hughes. The night is beautiful.
The night is beautiful.
So the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful.
The stars are beautiful.
So the eyes of my people.
So the eyes of my people.
Beautiful also is the sun.
Beautiful also is the sun.
Beautiful also are the souls of my people. Very good. That brings us all together. Now, when a poet writes, sometimes the words on the page ask for a quiet voice, a middle voice, a loud voice. Let's try some of the voices that the poet uses. Here is a poem, and I looked at those words, and I practiced it for weeks, and I found a way to say it with a quiet voice. Winter sweetness.
Winter sweetness.
By Langston Hughes. This little house is sugar. This little house is sugar. its roof with snow is piled. Its roof with snow is piled. And from a tiny window, peeps a maple sugar child. Maple sugar child. Oh, you are very good at a quiet poem. Let's try a poem where the voice gets up a little higher. Dream Dust.
Dream dust.
By Langston Hughes.
By Langston Hughes.
Gather out of star dust.
Gather out of star dust.
Earth dust.
Earth dust.
Storm dust.
Storm dust.
And splinters of hail.
And splinters of hail.
One handful of dream dust. One handful of dream dust. Not for sale.
Not for sale.
Oh, very good. And I know you're all going to hold that handful of dream dust because that means that's your character. And no matter what anybody tries to bribe you with, I'll give you $50 if you do something bad or wrong, you will say, no, my character is more important to me than any amount of money you can offer me. That's the dream dust. That's my character. Oh, I'm telling you, poems are so wonderful. They have wonderful stories in them. And you know, Langston Hughes was living in Harlem. And he was writing sometimes about the people with the voice of the people. He did a poem about a lady in Harlem. I'm going to do that poem for you. Now, this lady lives in Harlem. And the rent man, the landlord, comes by. He wants money from her. And the lady speaks up. It's a poem. I'll do this poem for you. Madam and the Rent Man by Langston Hughes. The rent man, he knocked. He say, how to do? I said, what can I do for you? He say, you know your rent is due. I said, listen, before I pay, I'd go to Hades and I'd rat away. The sink is broke. The water don't run. And you ain't done a thing that you promised to have done. The back window is cracked. The kitchen floor squeaks. There's rats in the cellar, and the attic leaks. He say, madam, it's not up to me. I'm just the agent. Don't you see? I said, naturally, you pass the buck. If it's money you want, you show out a look. He say, madam, I ain't pleased. I say, neither am I, so we agrees. Oh, I'm telling you, oh, the excitement, the adventure of words on a page. I do hope each one of you, when you're in the library the next time, you go to the poetry section, you pick out a book, and you find a poem, and you start practicing that poem, and you find the voice for it. And then you start sharing the poem with your family and friends. I'm not talking about homework or school assignments. No, something for the adventure and the fun of finding what words on a page make you find in your voice. Now, Langston Hughes wrote a poem. This poem is the loudest poem in the English language. And if you look at the words on the page, you would think it's going to be very quiet because it's about a baby. I'm going to do that poem for you. Just listen to how I'm going to find to do the words on the page for the loudest poem in the English language. Get ready. Baby by Langston Hughes. Albert! Hey! Albert! Don't you play in that road! You see, them trucks are going by. One run of you, and you die, Albert! Don't you play in that road! Now look, I'm a good reader. I'm in second, third, fourth grade. I've been given 2 or 3 weeks to go over the words of the poem because when I was growing up in New York City, we always were given 2 or 3 weeks to go over the words and find the most expressive way of saying the poem. And then, all right, now you come up and you're going to say it. And you look and you say, oh, all those people, I'm so timid, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so shy. And you do not bring the words alive. You read it the way we were just doing Winter Sweetness, and you say, and no one can say you're not saying the words, but you say, Albert, hey, Albert, don't you play in that road. Is that the voice the poet wants you to hear? No. Would the baby hear you? No. Let's let the baby hear us. Baby! 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 By Langston Hughes. Albert! Hey, Albert! Don't you play in that road! You see them trucks? A go win by. One run over you. And you die. Albert! Don't you play in that road! Oh, very good. You saved the baby's life. Oh, you're going to have so many adventures with the words on the page. You know, in our school in New York City when I was growing up, every morning began with 2 or 3 students who'd come up front of the class, and they had been given 2 or 3 weeks to go over the words. And the teacher would say, if you don't know how to pronounce a word, come, I'll help you. If you don't understand the meaning of the word, come, I'll help you. Now, very often children felt very embarrassed about being called on cold to read because they would stumble on words, but they would say them. For instance, the teacher would call them and say, now you're reading. The little child will read and say, the boy went to the store. And you see a period and look up. And you say, what did you read? And the child had not listened, so he could not tell you. The child has pronounced words, but has not listened to the sound of the voice in the printed word. So our teacher would help us. Now, the children who had trouble reading when called on cold, given 2 or 3 weeks, there was no longer a good reader, a middle reader, or a poor reader. Everyone was on the same level. Every child had a chance to read the words that were in the book in an expressive way. And do you know, when those children then, who you thought were troublesome because they didn't want to be called on and they'd make a lot of problems, those children sometimes would be so expressive in speaking those words because they knew them. And then after a while, that click, words on the page have a voice, and they would go on as readers. And that helped in that way. So I tell all my friends, if you give a child several weeks to go over words of a poem, they will read it as well as anyone who is a very good reader. They become very good readers in that way, and then they go on. So that's why I love offering poetry as a way. Now, our school also had what they called contests at the end of each school term, and we would get up. Now, I was so timid. I was so afraid to face a big audience. But when I got up and started saying a poem, my timidity, my shyness, my fire, I just wanted the words to come alive. And that's how I learned that I could speak well. And do you know, they would have it, they call them elocution contests. Could you say elocution? Elocution. And at the end of the term, when they'd vote for the best speakers of the classes on the term, who would they pick? I felt so good about that, something that I could do well. I could bring words on the page alive. I have never given that up. And I have many friends who write beautiful poems. Many of them are in this ABC book. There are over 20-some poets there, and I hope you'll get to know them. But I have another dear friend. Her name is Nikki Giovanni. Can you say that name? Nikki Giovanni. Nikki Giovanni. I asked her to give me some of her children's poems that I could illustrate. So I did The Sun Is So Quiet. And the poems are so pretty, sometimes you'd think that I'm reading Mother Goose. Let's try a poem here. It's called Covers. Follow my voice. It's like a lullaby to put someone to sleep. Covers. By Nikki Giovanni. Glass covers windows. To keep the cold away. Clouds cover the sky. To make a rainy day. Nighttime covers. All the things that creep. Blankets cover me. When I'm asleep. Anybody awake? Very good. That one you can do for your family and friends and put them all to sleep with a poem. You know, she wrote a poem, which is a tongue twister, the first verse. Prickle pickles don't smile. And I practiced this poem. I've said it over and over, so it would be the fastest that I could say a poem of the words on a page. And I never know if I'm going to get all the way through it, but I'm going to try it. But in the second verse, it says, never goad a loaded toad when he has to walk a whole mile. Now, there's just one word that you may not know. It says never goad. G-O-A-D. Can you spell goad? G-O-A-D. I mean, don't bother him. Don't disturb him. He's got a long way to go. That's the only word you don't know. Now, I'm going to try. Sometimes, with the help of my friends, I can go right from beginning to end. But often I trip up. I try to go too fast. But let's see if, with your help, I will be able to go from the first line to the end without a break. Prickled Pickles Don't Smile by Nikki Giovanni. Never tickle a prickled pickles don't smile. Never go to loaded toad and you have to walk a whole mile. Frankly, according to weather reporting, it indicates there are no snows. Always remember the month of December, it's very hot on your nose. I did it. Yeah. Well, look, I'm going to slow it down, and you say it after me. Prickled pickles don't smile.
Prickled pickles don't smile.
By Nikki Giovanni. Never tickle. A prickled pickle. 'Cause prickled pickles Don't smile. Never goad a loaded toad when he has to walk a whole mile. Froggies go courting with weather reporting that indicates there are no snows. But always remember the month of December is very hard on your nose. Never tickle a prickle pill. Never tickle a prickle pickle. Nikki Giovanni. Never tickle. Prickle pickle. Prickle pickle. Don't smile. Never goad. Loaded toad. Has to walk. Whole mile. Frog's courting. Weather reporting. Indicates. No snows. Always remember. Month of December. Very hard. Your nose. You made it. You made it. You know, whenever I've done that poem at a conference with my grown-up friends, after the third or fourth line of the first verse, they all drop out. But I've never done it with my elementary school friends that they don't prove that they can stay with you. And they tell the teachers, we are ready for learning. We will follow. We'll take the challenge. And we're going to make it all the way through. And I want to applaud you for staying with that difficult poem all the way. Now, Nikki Giovanni wrote a poem about a little boy. He is very unlike everyone here. He happens to like chocolate. And nobody here likes chocolate. You mean somebody here likes chocolate? Oh, well, let's find out why this little boy likes chocolate. The reason I like chocolate. By Nikki Giovanni. The reason I like chocolate is I can lick my fingers. And nobody says I'm not polite. I especially like scary movies. 'Cause then I can snuggle with my mommy or my big sister. And they don't laugh. I like to cry sometimes. 'Cause everybody says, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. And I like books. I like books. He likes books. She likes books. We like books. Books, books, books. We like books. For all those reasons. And especially because books make me happy. Books make me happy. Happy, happy, happy. Books make me happy. And I really like. He really likes. She really likes. We really like. Like. We really like. To be happy. Very good. Oh, another wonderful poet. Can you say Paul Laurence Dunbar? Paul Laurence Dunbar. Now, I want you to say after me, jump back, honey, jump back. Here comes a waiter. He wants to get through. All the waiters are talking about the ladies they met the day before. If you want to get through to put your tray down, you have to say, jump back, honey, jump back. And here comes another waiter with his tray. He wants to get through the crowd of waiters talking about the ladies they met. How do you have to say? They didn't move because you weren't loud enough. Now, when I give that sniggle, I want you to call that out. Now, this is a love poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar, and it's in dialect, the southern dialect. And he says, I seen my lady home last night. Jump back, honey, jump back. I held her hand and I squeezed it tight. I heard her sigh, a little sigh. I seen a light gleam in her eye, and I saw a smile go flitting on by. I heard the wind blow through the pine. The mockingbird was a singing fine. And in my heart was a beating so that when I reached my lady door, that I couldn't bear to go. I put my arm around her waist. I raised her lips and I took a taste. Do you love me, honey? You love me true? You love me as well as I love you? And she answered, of course I do. Very good. Thank you. Oh, you've got to meet my friend, Eloise Greenfield. Can you say that name?
Eloise Greenfield.
Rope Rhyme. Rope Rhyme. By Eloise Greenfield. Get set, set, set. Set, set, set. Set, set, set. Ready, ready, ready. Ready now. Ready now. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Right, right, right. Jump right in. Bounce, bounce. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Giggle, giggle, giggle. Giggle, giggle, giggle. Spin, spin, spin. Spin, spin. Listen to the rope when it hits the ground. Listen to the slappity. Slappity, slappity. Listen to the clappity. Clappity, clappity. Clappity sound. Jump right up. Up, up, up. Up, up. When it tells you to. Come back down. down, down, down. Down, down. As you ought to do. Count to 100. Count by 10. 10, 20, 30. 40, 50, 60. 70, 80, 90. 100. 100. Start to count. All over again. All over again. That's what jumping. Jump, jump, jumping. Is all about. Is all about. Is all about. Get set, set, set. Get ready, ready, ready. Ready now. Ready now. Ready now. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Jump right out. Very good. Eloise Greenfield, in her book, Honey, I Love, wrote a poem about a lady. I wondered, has anyone here ever heard of a lady whose name is Harriet Tubman? You heard about her? Oh, good. Hands down. When you're in the library, look for Honey, I Love. That poem is a beautiful poem. Harriet Tubman by Eloise Greenfield. Harriet Tubman didn't take no stuff, wasn't scared of nothing neither. Didn't come in this world to be no slave, wasn't going to stay one either. Farewell, she sang to her friends one night. She was mighty sad to leave them. She ran away one dark, hot night, ran a-looking for her freedom. She ran to the woods. She ran through the woods. Slave catchers right behind her. She kept on going till she got to the north where those mean men couldn't find her. 19 times she went back south to get 300 others. She ran for her freedom 19 times to save black sisters and brothers. Harriet Tubman didn't take no stuff, wasn't scared of nothing neither. Didn't come in this world to be no slave, and didn't stay one either, and didn't stay one either. Oh, you're gonna have a good time with poetry, because you see, when I read, I always hold a book. Because I want you to know, whatever my voice has been doing, it comes from words on the page in a book. My challenge in reading poetry is to bring those words on the page alive. Now, I read it, I hold the book. Now, sometimes I don't even find the page of a poem I'm going to say. Because when you've done it again and again, you know what happens? It comes to memory. So they're in the memory. So even though I may be flipping the page, I'll just stop and start saying the poem. Sometimes my little preschool friends will come up to me afterwards, and you know what they'll say? You forgot to look in the book. Because in doing them again and again, they've come to memory. And I'm always saying, listen for the sound of the voice in the printed word. And after my program, my little preschoolers will often come up and they'll take my books and they'll go like this. They're listening for the sound. When you grow up, it's a virtual sense in which that happens. But everyone in reading is being creative. You cannot read without being creative. It is one of the most creative things you can do. If you are reading a story about a mother in the kitchen who is cooking, Do you see a man digging in a field in the garden? No. If you are reading about someone who is swimming in a pool, do you see someone running in the park? Your mind is creating images when you read. The words are there, but you are creating. And that's very wonderful. So I always say to my friends, if your child will at some time of the day sit and hold a book for reading, they can have all the video, the television, all those other things. That's okay. But they will be spending time creating by reading. It is never passive. So all of you, I want to remember, always have a book that you're reading. Now what I do, I take the good ideas that come from poetry and I put them in my stories. And it doesn't matter what story I may be reading. In my African folktales, I just want you to get a feeling of the sound of a voice. And for instance, once here, I did a story about a frog who got married. And he married 2 wives, not just one. He was so happy. But then, as things go on in the story, it leads to a problem. Now, when you begin that story, I would like you to feel that you can hear a storyteller. I am doing African folktales which were never written. They were only passed on from child to the parent passed on to the child, the children grew up and had their children, what we call the oral tradition. Can you say that?
Oral tradition.
Now, scholars in Africa wanted to get written alphabets of the languages of the hundreds and hundreds of African tribes. And they would ask the people, tell me a story. And then they would, on one side, write if they were English or French or German or Italian, and then on the other side, they'd write the way it sounded phonetically. And they worked with those translations. And that's how I've come to work with the African folktales. I work with the bare bones. Now, how can I make those words in a book sound like the oral tradition? By using poetry. I fill my prose with poetry. For instance, say like the Frog and His 2 Wives from the people of Angola now. It goes here. Listen, now let me tell the story of Frog Kumbuto who married 2 wives. Quo qua, he sang for one wife. Quo qua, he sang for the other. He sprang high into the air, twirling both legs. He whirled himself down and came down. Whump! He jumped again into the skies. Oh, it was a wonder to have 2 wives. Now you see all that I've done with the play of the voice so that you will feel you can hear a storyteller even though it's now in the book. And that's what I do with all of my work. I would like you to feel there is a storyteller speaking to you even when you are reading silently. And that's how I do it. Now, I take those good ideas. I'll give you a longer idea of how that works. In my book, The Beautiful Blackbird, this was a story that came from Zambia, and it had on the motif, the birds of Africa all came together, and Ringdove asked, who is the most beautiful? All the birds said, Blackbird is the most beautiful. How very black he is. Now, I had grown up with so many stories where black is the lousy color. You come last and that's all that's left, that's what you get. Now, here was a story that was celebrating black. So when I came upon that motif, I said, I'm going to try and work it from the oral tradition, from the document that I've researched in the research library, and make a story of it. So I'll work with you on this story. Now, a story takes a little longer, so I'm going to be watching for the 2 eyes looking straight at me. because then I know that two ears are listening. And when two ears are listening, I know the mind is thinking. And when the mind is thinking, the poem, the story, it goes right to the heart. And that's why I watch everyone, and that helps me to do my very best. Here, beautiful blackbird, written and illustrated. Now you'll see on the end papers, I have my mother's dressmaking scissors and her embroidery crochet scissors. I have used my mother's scissors to cut and paste all the colored papers that make up the pictures in Beautiful Blackbird. So they were done with just those two scissors. And I put them on the end papers, and then you will know that the collage is all done with these. Now, as a child, I could not play with these scissors. No, they were very special scissors. But when my ma died, the family gave me her scissors. And now I can play with them all day long. So let's see now. Let's begin with Beautiful Blackbird. A long time ago, the birds of Africa, all colors of the rainbow, clean, clear colors from head to tail. Oh, so pretty, pretty, pretty. Back then, though, the birds had no mark of black on their feathers. From the top of their heads to the tip of their tails, no marking of black. Whether large or small, blackbird was the only bird who had it all. One day, Ringdove called the birds to a festival in the forest. He asked them all to meet by the lake where he lived. The birds flew in from all over with a flip, a flop, a flapping of their wings and a whirring, stirring of the air. They flew down to the lake from everywhere. Now the bird colors were mirrored in the waters. Can you say they were red? Green, yellow, purple, orange, blue, pink, black, blackbird, blackbird two. Now Ringdove called cuckoo. I have a question to ask of you. Who of all is the most beautiful? The colored birds. They never raised a wing. They raised their beaks and they began to sing. Blackbird stands out best of all. Blackbird is the most beautiful. His feathers gleam all colors in the sun. Blackbird is the most beautiful one. The birds circled Blackbird and they all sang. Beak to beak. Beak to beak. Peck, peck, peck. Peck, peck, peck. Spread your wings. Spread your wings. Stretch your neck. Stretch your neck. Black is beautiful. Aha. Black is beautiful. Aha. And they broke out of the circle for the show claw slide. Tip-tap-toe to the left. Spin around. Toe-tap tipper to the right. Stroke the ground. Wings flip flapping. As you glide. Forward and backward. In a show claw slide. Now, when the birds were into their steps, Ringdove took Blackbird aside. Oh, Blackbird, Blackbird, cuckoo, cuckoo, would you color me black? So I'll be black like you? My neck, it's plain. And that's a shame, because ringdove is my given name. And Blackbird says, color on the outside, that's not what's on the inside. You don't act like me. You don't eat like me. You don't get down in the groove and move your feet like me. But you come tomorrow to the sun-up dance. I'm going to brew some blackening in my medicine gourd. Then I'm going to swing a ring around your neck to go with your name. Now just watch this. The next day, he brings his gourd. He stirs the brew round and round. He dips his feather brush into the pot. He holds it to Ringdove's neck and spins him around. And Ringdove calls out, cuckoo, cuckoo, see what a swinging ring of black can do? Now Blackbird, he bows to the crowd as a chirping arose. Ringdove's black is beautiful.
Ringdove's black is beautiful.
Beak to beak.
Beak to beak.
Peck, peck, peck.
Peck, peck, peck.
He's just like Blackbird.
He's just like Blackbird.
Around the neck.
Around the neck.
Now, what do you suppose all of those birds are going to want? A touch of black? You're right. They all want a touch of black. So Blackbird says, tomorrow, I'll mix the rest of my black roots in a larger medicine gourd. I'll give what I can give till it all gives out. And that's just what he does. They all go to sleep, and they're all dreaming of black. Black markings on the head. Tail, wing, chest, and back.
Tail, wing, chest, and back.
Black is beautiful.
Black is beautiful.
Black, black, black. Now the next morning they all raise up high, their colors fill the sky, and Ringdove helps Blackbird carry his large gourd and sets it down. And Blackbird says, we'll see the difference.
We'll see the difference.
A touch of black can make. Just remember, whatever I do, I'll be me. And you'll be you. Blackbird dipped his brush into the pot. He tapped out dots. Look, some are large, some are small, close together, far apart. A challenge. Look, stripes, painted stripes, large, small. He kept his brush steady. He painted only when his brush was ready and full with the black root. Watch this. And then the little birds came up, and the little birds cry out, save some for us! We've been in line. We were on time. We won't step back. Till we get a touch of black too. Blackbird slipped his brush way, way in. He decorated the last of the birds with marks and arcs, and he black-tapped the last of the small birds, and then Blackbird sang, I've painted plenty, plenty, plenty. The gourd's now empty, empty, empty. The birds surrounded Blackbird, and they all sang, our colors sport a grand new look. A touch of black was all it took. Oh, beautiful black. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Black is beautiful. Uh-huh. Now, so I hope you remember the play of the voice. Listen for the voice in your reading, and you will be readers for life. Now, in closing, does anyone here by chance know a spiritual, a Negro spiritual, Black American spiritual, African American spiritual. How about a song that goes like this? He's got the whole world in his hand. He's That is a spiritual. What is it called? Spiritual. He's got the whole world in his hands was created by Black American slaves. Black American slaves created thousands of songs called spirituals. Now, if anybody asks you, do you know a spiritual? I want to see every hand go up because everyone said they knew he's got the whole world in his hands. How about a song that goes like this? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. How come you didn't put your hands up? How many children there know a spiritual? If you know he's got the whole world in his hand, let it shine. How many of you at Christmas sing, go tell it on the mountains, over the hills and everywhere? How many of you sing that at Christmas time? All right. I did the book so you will know not only that you love to sing them, but in the back of the book, I have the story of it. So you will tell all your friends those songs you're singing are from whom? Black American slaves. Who?
Black American slaves.
Let everyone know those songs you've been singing and taking for granted come from the art, the gift of. And do you know, in the back of the book, look what I have here. I have notes. Do you know my friends from 4th grade on are playing an instrument that looks like it lives in this house. And you've been so good that when I open the door, out will come. What's that called? A flute or a recorder. How many of you are playing the recorder, the C recorder? From 4th grade on, wherever I've traveled throughout the country, children are learning music from the treble clef notes. So look, all you do, you put your finger on the hole and you blow, you get this sound, right? You put 2 fingers down. Am I going up or down? Down. And you have to cover all the holes because if you don't get a squeaky sound, but you want a clean sound. And to get the very bottom, I have to make sure my fingers are covering every hole. And if I want to go high, I cover part of the hole. I blow sharply. You can go very low and you can go very high. And if you want to play that song and you can sing in with me, you ready to sing it? Oh, come on, I'll play it and you sing. Now, in closing, there's one poem I close all my programs. It tells you things that come and go, and that what you create, that will always live in you. The stories you write, the poems, the way you've learned to run and to swim and to play basketball and to draw pictures, all of those live on in you. But everything else that you, the ice cream, the candies, the sand castles you build, they get washed away. And everybody says this poem with me. Things. Things. By Eloise Greenfield. Went to the corner. Walked in the store. bought me some candy. Ain't got it no more. Ain't got it no more. Went to the beach. Played on the shore. Built me a sand house. Ain't got it no more. Ain't got it no more. Went to the kitchen. Lay down on the floor. Made me a poem. Still got it. Still got it. Still got it. Thank you.